Tonight in Washington, something big just happened, and it could directly impact the future of immigration enforcement in the United States. The Homeland Security Secretary was called to testify before Congress, and lawmakers did not hold back. This was not a routine hearing. It was intense, it was political, and at moments, it was confrontational. So what triggered this level of scrutiny? Why are senators demanding answers right now? And could this lead to changes in immigration enforcement policies in 2026? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what happened inside that hearing room and what it could mean for immigrants, visa holders, and green card holders across America. Earlier today, inside a packed Senate chamber in Washington, D.C., the Homeland Security Secretary faced tough bipartisan questioning. The focus was clear: immigration enforcement tactics, border operations ICE activity, and recent controversial incidents involving federal immigration officers. Several lawmakers raised concerns about accountability and oversight. Others argued enforcement has not been strong enough. That tension created a sharp political divide inside the room. At multiple points, senators pressed for detailed answers. They asked about enforcement priorities. They asked about operational transparency. They asked whether current strategies are sustainable long-term. The Secretary defended the department's actions, stating that enforcement decisions are based on federal law and national security priorities. But here's why this matters. When Congress publicly questions Homeland Security leadership, it often signals growing pressure for policy adjustments. Sometimes that leads to funding changes, sometimes oversight expansion, sometimes legislative proposals. And with 2026 shaping up to be a critical policy year, immigration is once again at the center of national debate. This hearing is not just about one day of testimony. It's about the future direction of immigration enforcement in America. In the next part, we'll break down the most intense exchanges from the hearing, what lawmakers specifically challenged, and whether this moment could realistically lead to policy changes. Because what happens next could shape immigration discussions for months. If you want clear, structured immigration updates without political exaggeration, make sure you're following this channel. Now let's take a closer look at what was actually said inside that hearing room. As the hearing continued, the discussion became more detailed and policy-focused. Members of Congress asked for clarification about how immigration enforcement decisions are made and how data is reported to lawmakers. Several senators requested updated statistics on detention capacity, border processing numbers, and operational priorities. Others asked about long-term strategy and whether adjustments may be considered in the coming year. The Secretary explained that enforcement policies are guided by existing federal law and internal departmental guidelines. She emphasized that oversight and transparency remain important parts of the department's responsibilities. Lawmakers also discussed how immigration enforcement affects communities, border management systems, and federal resources. Some members focused on accountability measures. Others focused on operational efficiency. Throughout the hearing, the tone remained structured and procedural, with detailed exchanges about funding, compliance, and reporting requirements. It's important to note that no new policy changes were announced during this session. However, hearings like this often influence future discussions about budget planning and administrative priorities. When Congress reviews department operations, it can lead to recommendations, reporting requirements, or future legislative proposals. At this stage, the situation remains under review. In the next part, we'll look at what this means in practical terms for immigrants, visa holders, and green card applicants, and whether everyday processes could be affected moving forward. Now let's talk about what this actually means for immigrants and families following these developments. At this moment, there are no immediate rule changes. There has been no announcement of new visa restrictions, no new citizenship requirements, and no confirmed changes to green card processing standards. However, oversight hearings like this often signal that immigration policy remains an active area of review. For visa holders, this means staying updated is important, but there is no need for panic. For green card holders, current rights and responsibilities remain the same under existing federal law. For individuals in the naturalization process, application procedures continue to follow the established USCIS guidelines. What lawmakers are mainly reviewing right now involves funding priorities, administrative procedures, and long-term strategy planning. Sometimes these reviews lead to internal adjustments within agencies. Sometimes they lead to budget reallocations, and occasionally they contribute to future legislative proposals. But those steps take time. In the United States, policy changes usually go through multiple stages: discussion, committee review, public communication, and then implementation timelines. That means any potential changes would likely be announced clearly before taking effect. It's also important to separate political discussion from operational reality. Hearings can sound intense, but they are part of the normal oversight process in Washington. For now, daily immigration processing continues under existing rules. Applications are still being reviewed, interviews are still being scheduled, and border operations continue under current federal frameworks. In the next part, we'll break down what experts are watching next, including possible budget discussions, future legislative conversations, and how 2026 planning could shape the broader immigration landscape. Looking ahead, many policy analysts are watching what happens next in Washington. When a department faces detailed congressional review, the next step is often budget discussion. Funding plays a major role in how immigration systems operate. Resources determine processing speed, staffing levels, technology upgrades, and border infrastructure improvements. If lawmakers recommend budget adjustments, that could influence operational capacity in the coming fiscal year. Another area experts are monitoring is reporting requirements. Sometimes hearings result in agencies being asked to provide more frequent updates to Congress. That can increase transparency and create more structured public communication about immigration statistics and procedures. There is also discussion about long-term modernization efforts. This includes digital processing systems, case backlog reduction strategies, and improved coordination between federal agencies. These administrative improvements often receive bipartisan attention because they affect efficiency rather than ideology. Now, regarding 2026 planning. Policy discussions often intensify ahead of major election cycles or federal budget transitions. Immigration tends to remain a central topic during those periods. However, meaningful legislative change requires agreement across multiple branches of government. That process is deliberate and takes time. For viewers and families navigating the system right now, the key takeaway is stability. Current immigration rules remain in place. There are no sudden regulatory shifts announced as a result of this hearing. But continued oversight means immigration will stay in the national conversation. In the final part of this video, we'll summarize the key points, clarify what is confirmed versus what is speculation, and explain how to stay informed without reacting to headlines alone. Let's quickly recap what we know tonight. The Homeland Security Secretary appeared before Congress for a formal oversight hearing focused on immigration enforcement and administrative operations. Lawmakers asked detailed questions about reporting, funding priorities, and long-term strategy. No new immigration law was passed, no emergency policy was announced, and no immediate rule changes were confirmed. This hearing was part of the normal congressional review process. However, it does signal that immigration policy remains a major focus in Washington. When oversight becomes more detailed and public, it usually means continued discussion ahead, especially as future budget cycles and long-term planning approach. For immigrants, green card holders, visa applicants, and families currently navigating the system, the most important takeaway is this: there are no sudden changes to your current status based on this hearing. Processing continues under existing federal guidelines. Applications are being reviewed, interviews are being scheduled, and official policy remains unchanged at this time. Going forward, the key is staying informed through verified updates rather than reacting to headlines alone. As always, any confirmed changes would be formally announced and clearly communicated before implementation. We will continue monitoring official developments and breaking down what is confirmed, what is proposed, and what it actually means in practical terms. If you found this update helpful and want clear, calm, and fact-based immigration news explained in simple terms, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We post regular updates covering immigration policy discussions, visa news, green card processing insights, and federal announcements, all explained step by step. And if you've been watching our updates over the past month and find value in them, subscribing helps you stay ahead of important developments. Thank you for watching tonight. We'll continue to bring you verified updates as they happen.